Okay. So again, having gone through sort of our introductions and, some basic information about how things are going to go forward today, I want to move into um, some thanks, some gratitude, some acknowledgement, because I'm aware that everything that I share, even those sharings that are in my original words, they come from all the wisdom that I've been able to um, ingest and cultivate and really metabolize into sort of both my own words and my own perspectives. So there are many beings that I'm grateful to that have nourished and nurtured me in my path of getting here. Today, I can't say everybody's name, obviously. I'm 65. That would be a lot of names. Particularly today, I want to offer gratitude to some specific beings and organizations. First, I just want to call in our gratitude and our compassion for Renee Good and Alex Preety, who were killed in Minnesota by ICE earlier this year, Silveira Viegas Gonzalez, who was killed by ICE in Illinois last year, and to the 32 people who died in ICE custody during 2025. And bringing them into our awareness, we might also then become aware that there are many others, some whose names are known to us, others who are the names are unknown or whose experiences are unknown, whose lives have been interrupted or ended by people seeking to expand their tentacles of power and control and wealth instead of what we are doing here, which is working to create a reality based on the values of love, interdependence, and sustainability. I want to call in gratitude for the Disability Rights and Education Defense Fund, which is one of the organizations that was instrumental in passing the Americans with Disabilities Act in the 1990s, and recently has made a vocal call in the voices of disabled people to reject funding for ICE and ICE's activities. I want to call in gratitude for Sins Invalid, that has cultivated the principles of disability justice that we are working with through this gathering. And I also want to offer gratitude to the ancient Asian wisdom that cultivated the practice of Yoga Nidra that has been transmitted through the centuries so that we can enjoy it here today. So with that, I would like to again suggest that whatever sort of comfort you need in terms of position, posture, props that you might need in order to participate in Yoga Nidra, that you gather that to you now as I begin to offer this practice to you. So starting by just allowing yourself to become aware of your environment, that you are in a location, however imperfect, that supports you right now, that offers you various comforts, offers support to the body, offers support to you as oxygen, and in many other ways that you may have designed to be supported. I'm feeling free even just to take a look around, perhaps to notice any particular object or living thing like your plants and possibly animal companions that are supportive to you in your space. And within this space, beginning to become aware of your body and the very direct support of your body. It may be a chair or a bed, a sofa, the floor. It may be all those things. Noticing the direct support that your body is resting into. And beginning to have a general sense of what it's like to be in your body with that support in your space right now. And letting your awareness encompass the gentle rise and fall of your stomach, the expansion and settling of your chest with the intake of your breath, with the exhalation of your breath. Noticing how your body receives the breath, and it does so naturally without requiring you to make it happen. And the body releases the breath naturally without anything being required of you. And for perhaps 4 or 5 rounds of inhale and exhale, just letting your awareness rest with the quality of your breathing right now. And whatever the quality of your breathing is, offering an affirmation to that. A yes, the type of yes that says, yes, I notice that. I notice that my breath may be deep, it may be shallow, it may be smooth, it may be ragged. Whatever descriptive words fit for you about your breath right now, without any sort of judgment without wanting to make it different, releasing any wanting, just saying yes. And that is the quality of my breath right now. And with that affirmation, allowing your awareness to begin to expand and travel. First, becoming aware of the space just above your head, noticing that there is a weightless, colorless, shapeless space above your head. So light, so gentle. And allowing yourself to sense how that space encompasses all of your head. That your head is here with this space, with your breath, with your awareness right now. Noticing how your head is supported. If you're sitting, it may be supported by your neck and your shoulders. If you're reclining, it may be supported by something that you are laying upon or leaning into. And noticing the quality of that support and the softness, the colorlessness, the odorlessness of the space around that support. Letting your awareness travel through your face, noticing first that there is a scalp which may or may not have hair in different places upon it. And that scalp softly and gently descends down to the forehead, to your brow, to the eyelids, to the bridge of the nose, the cheeks, the lips, the chin. This soft and gentle envelope, caressing and caring for your head and all the functions that happen there. Noticing your eyes, and if any tension exists there, inviting your eyes to relax and sink back into your skull, noticing your brow, and if any tension exists there, inviting it to relax, to melt, and to descend. Noticing the bridge of your nose and your nostrils, the space in your nostrils, receiving the breath and gently allowing the breath to leave the body. If any tension exists in those places, inviting it to soften, to melt, and to disappear into the tissues of your body. Noticing your cheekbones, your ears, the space in your ear canals, any tension in those spaces. Again, inviting softening, melting, relaxation. Noticing your lips and your teeth and your tongue, the inside of your mouth, the back of your throat, leading both down towards the digestive system and up toward the sinuses. Inviting softening, relaxation, melting in all of these places. Noticing your chin, your jaw, and how this connects both to the skull and also to your capacities of speaking, of eating, of smiling, making all the shapes that come unbidden in your face. And inviting any tension in those places to soften, to sink, to melt, to release. And allowing your awareness to begin to travel downwards, noticing that at the bottom of your skull, at the back of your neck, the spine begins to descend down into the body. A beautiful central channel that provides support, flexibility, creativity, the movement of messages from the brain to different parts of your body. This strong, flexible, creative element of your body, so often forgotten. Any tension that you might be sensing around your spine, inviting that to soften, to release, to relax into the support around you. Letting your awareness travel to your shoulders, your collarbones, and your shoulder blades like wings at the back of your body, offering structure and support and movement. And along with your spine, providing a home base for the ribs to encircle and provide structure and care and support for all the internal organs in the upper part of your body, and inviting the tissues, the tendons, the muscles around this beautiful supportive structure to relax, to be soft, to release all tension, and simply to be appreciated. And noticing in that upper body the beating of your heart, gentle expansion and relaxation of your lungs, always working, always supporting, never requiring, and just appreciating. Of course, we know that many of us do have lungs that require some kind of support, may have a heart that requires some kind of support in the form of a practice, a medicine, a device. And allowing your awareness to expand to encompass the incredible adaptability and receptivity of those organs to receive the support that they need in order to continue, in order to sustain. And in the soft middle parts of our body, we notice our waist, our stomach, other internal organs, the kidneys, the liver, all the digestive tract, this beautiful, quiet body containing all of these natural functions operating to support and sustain this entire being. And aware also that these organs, these processes, may also need support at some times by way of a practice, a medicine, a device, an intervention. And bringing some gratitude and awareness to the adaptability, persistence of these organs, and receiving whatever support they need so that they might sustain and the entire body might be sustained. Allowing your awareness to travel down toward the hips, the tailbone, all the structures, all the power and the muscular power, whether we have access to it or not. Power contained in everything in that lower portion of the body. The organs of reproduction and elimination, and the pelvic floor serving as a gentle location for those functions to carry forward. And whether we have access to any of this or not, acknowledging that the blueprint of each of our bodies, each different, each having different capacities, different requirements, different adaptations. The blueprint of our bodies exists to support and sustain the body and us in our bodies. And allowing your awareness to begin to travel down into the legs, the bones of the upper leg, connecting to the hips energetically and through muscles and tendons, the flesh and the skin around those upper leg bones. The blueprint of our bodies in our upper leg bones, existing to support and sustain our bodies and us. Allowing awareness to come to the knees that offer flexibility, mobility, whatever capacities we experience in our bodies, with our knees, offering gratitude that our knees exist to support and sustain our bodies and ourselves. And letting awareness travel to the lower leg, the muscles, the tendons, the skin, the bones. Our awareness may be the only sensation that we can be aware of in our lower legs, in any part of our body. Having gratitude for the sensation of our awareness in our lower legs. And moving our awareness to our ankles. Incredibly brilliant and complex structures that bring the possibility of movement in so many ways. The bones, the architecture, the tendons, the skin, and whether we have access to a great deal of mobility, limited mobility, or no mobility at all. Just inviting our understanding to encompass how the blueprint of our ankles is there to support us, to support the entire body and us in the body. Allowing awareness to travel down into the heel, into the arch, into the instep of our feet. Allowing our awareness to expand to include the toes, the top of the feet. And inviting any tension that exists there in those places to relax, to release, to melt, to subside into the support available to us in the space we're resting in. And letting our awareness travel up to the arms, in many ways a mirror of our legs, an upper arm bone that sits in the shoulders in a very similar way to how our upper leg bones sit in the hips. An elbow, very similar to a knee, providing flexibility and motion. Wrists, very similar to ankles, creating a flexible relationship with the arm to our very complicated and amazing hands. This amazing architecture includes the structure, the solidity of the bones, the flexibility of the tendons, the support of the tissues, the protection of the skin, so that functions, sensation, manipulation, and even an embrace can be carried out through our arms and our hands. And whatever our capacities are in our arms and our hands, whether we have sensation, no sensation, whether we have mobility, no mobility, inviting softness, relaxation, melting in the arms and the hands, and inviting gratitude for the blueprint of the arms and the hands that our bodies provide to us to support our body and ourselves in the body. And if it's right for you, allowing movement to come so that a hand may touch any place of your body that you'd like to have more aware of right now. If you have the capacity to move your hand, then physically moving it. If you don't have the capacity to move your hand, letting the awareness of your hand move to wherever in the body you would like more awareness. It could be your heart, it could be your belly, wherever you most feel the breath. It could be upper, middle, or lower belly. Perhaps there's some place in your arms or your neck or your legs where you'd like to have some additional support in releasing tension. And allowing your hands or the awareness of your hands to bring that invitation to those places in your body. And with that touch of your hand, the awareness of your hand, bringing the message, this body is perfect. This body is whole. This body is strong. This body is beautiful. Whatever affirmation that I have not articulated that comes to your mind, knowing that is the affirmation that's needed right now, and calling that in, calling that in, calling that in. And slowly, as it's right for you, beginning to allow your awareness of the perfection, of the strength, of the beauty, of the wholeness of your body to expand, so that you become aware of the whole body, yourself in your whole body. Your body resting upon the support that you have arranged for it. Your body in the space, providing comfort, shelter, oxygen, safety. And noticing when it's right for you to begin to allow gentle movement to come in your body after this period of stillness. Whatever movement suggests itself, affirming that and allowing that to move forward. Perhaps stretching, bending in some way. and with gratitude for the body, perfect, strong, beautiful, whole, allowing this meditation to come to a close, perhaps opening and closing your eyes, perhaps moving your head side to side, finding your own way to allow this going forward from Yoga Nidra to carry forward. And shortly, I will offer some music for our comfort break. We will have about 10 minutes before we return to our sharing time. Okay. So I just want to reiterate again, everyone you're welcome to come and go as you please, whatever your capacity is today. So the principle that we are here to interact with today is sustainability. And I am going to put the principle from Sins Invalid in the chat. And the principle reads, we pace ourselves individually and collectively to be sustained long term. Our embodied experiences guide us toward ongoing justice and liberation. And I also want to place in the chat some words that I put in the email reminder that you all received. Living with the multitude of challenges and dangers the current world presents can make it seem as though sustaining, holding ourselves together and strong is some kind of distant dream. This is not the case. Sustaining is always present in the body at all times, for as long as we draw breath. We need only connect with it. And it's a simple sentence, but it's not easy, since dominant contemporary culture actively denigrates, uproots, and destroys the practices that make this connection available, apparent, accessible. So our sharing and practice today is about highlighting and remembering how to establish and maintain the connection with sustaining that is always inside of us, and to return to it when it's been disrupted. So I'm going to start like I normally do, by working a little bit with words. So first, that English word sustain, sustainable, sustainability. So a dictionary definition of sustain is like to provide the necessities of life, to give support to something, including in a physical sense, like we were noticing in our meditation, if we had the support of a chair, a pillow, a sofa, a bed. So this word comes to us from the Old French with the beginning part, the sus part of the word, meaning in the Old French, up from below. And tenere, so sus tenere, meaning to hold or to stretch. So in its derivation, this word means to hold, to stretch, to root up from below. So when we examine this principle, we're asking ourselves to consider what it means to sustain ourselves, to hold ourselves up from below, to stretch in order to give up, to give to ourselves the necessities of life. So, as you know, I also work with Pali words. And this month I'd like to draw our attention to Sammasankappa, which is right intention, one of the wisdom principles from the Eightfold Noble Path. In Samma, we've talked about many times, Samma basically means rightly, properly, thoroughly, best, perfect. And my contemporary definition, my interpretation of that word that I've used many times in this set of gatherings is that Samma means in alignment with the true nature of reality, not the conditioned nature of reality, not the reality that's being imposed upon us by current circumstances or the thought of the day, the way we think about things today. It's the true nature of ultimate reality, the ultimate reality that provided us with the beautiful blueprint of the bodies that we have. And Sankappa means thought, intention, purpose, or plan. So intention, a word that we use to understand Sankappa, comes to us through Latin, the Latin word intentionem, which interestingly also means to stretch out, to stretch into effort, to stretch into exertion, to stretch our awareness as intention. And also through the Old French intention, which includes aspiration or a desire, a hope, like a goal, a moving toward, as well as not just having the thought, but the desire, the moving toward, the action and the purpose. So I'm adding all of these additional points of information to the definition of Samma Sankappa that we are working with in Sangha as all, which is that Samma Sankappa means having right intention, means actively cultivating thoughts, intentions, purposes, plans, and resolve that are in balance with the true nature of ultimate reality, with the true nature of the blueprint of our bodies, and the self-sustaining nature of our hearts and our existence. And when I think about sustainability, it feels to me that everything that we've talked about so far in all of our gatherings is worthy of revisiting here. So, for instance, in the first principle on intersectionality, we talked about Kimberly Crenshaw's definition of intersectionality. And one of the things I quoted that month was her saying, Kimberly Crenshaw saying that intersectionality is like being impacted by multiple forces and then left to fend for yourself. And that's not a description of ultimate reality. That's a description of the experience in the world when what we naturally are what our natural capacities and inclinations are get parsed up into all these different identities that can be used to compartmentalize and marginalize us. So our embodied experience informs us about all of our own personal intersections. And so while I identify, for instance, as a disabled person, the experiences that I have as a disabled person are going to be different from everybody else. So my embodied experience will inform me about what that means for me. And my practice of samadhi, or right view, calls me to be aware not only of the impact of that on me, but also of the limitation of my view. Right view isn't like a call to omniscience. It's a call to understanding that we are always limited. And being aware of our limitation is part of what's right. My practice of samasankappa, right intention, calls us to be respectful with what is needed to sustain ourselves, even when what is needed maybe is not what we want. So and in this way, I'm very specifically talking about something that comes up in Buddhism a lot, about the suffering that we have, that we create within ourselves, our resistance to what is. So we need to be aware of that we have resistances. But I am in no way imagining or sharing that that is the only resistance or obstacle that we face. We face all the obstacles that intersectionality places before us and on us. So when we think about sustainability and how to be with all of this, and I'd like to invite sharing here in just a second, because my view is limited. It's not the only view. What helps me is to be aware that if my view is limited, then so is that other person's view who might be trying to impose limitations on me. That doesn't necessarily help me in terms of knowing what to say to that person, how to behave around that person. It doesn't help me with power imbalances between me and that person. But it can help me to be in yoga nidra with myself, to release and to relax and to let go what those limitations are that person has, and to stay in practice with myself and not try to solve them, to nourish my energy and my capacity by being in yoga nidra with myself. So just wanting to invite any sharing that might feel like it wants to move forward in you around intersectionality and sustainability. Well, at any time that you might want to share, just let me know. So, calling in the next principle that we worked with, the second principle we worked with was leadership of the most impacted. And during that month, we also worked with samadhi, or right view. And we also worked with right action. So what I said was that right action has to follow right view. So right action being the Eightfold Noble Path principle called Samakamanta. And I offered the Kakavati Sutta as the Buddha's sort of uh, recitation of how right action, when offered, has sustainable, supportive consequences, or karma, if you'd like. And when right action is withheld or not offered, there are unsustainable consequences. There's unsustainable karma. And also that month, I shared this quote from Joan Halifax at Upaya. As Buddha was facing death, Ananda, one of the student who supposedly was able to recite every sutta by memory, requested that he give a final teaching. And what he shared was that he already taught them everything he knew, and that they needed to make the teachings their own and not look for a special leader or teacher for guidance. So the invitation there is to sustain ourselves by, yes, expanding our view and taking in what supports us, including, if it's supported for you, the Eightfold Noble Path and interpretations and how that might fit into your life. But how all that applies is your yoga nidra. It's how all of that can be metabolized and go forward from your body, from your genuine life force, with respect and caring for the capacities and limitations that you have. So in the blog post that I offered that month, I said that in order to be guided toward justice and liberation, we provide ourselves soothing, comfort, care, support, and gratitude. This is the soothing, the words, I am enough. This is the comfort, the words, my practice is enough. And this is the care, my right view, my right understanding is enough. This is the support. I am practicing in community that affirms my actions and inactions are enough. That's the community that I practice in. And this is gratitude. I am thankful that my understanding, intentions, and actions have brought me to this soothing, this comfort, this care, and this support. Would anyone like to share any reflections on what I just shared?
Thanks, Laura. Astrid, calling in from lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit, Anishinaabe, and Chippewa, and other First Nations of so-called Canada, Toronto, Treaty 13 territory. Yeah, I just to let you know that I'm no longer, for some reason, no longer on your mailing list, so I didn't get the blog. So yeah, I'm just a bit
I'll fix that,
scattered.
Astrid.
Okay. And so in the chat, okay, sustainability.
Do you want
Okay.
me to post any of what I just shared in the
Um,
chat?
well, just yeah, because my brain's just yeah, not functioning today. Um, yeah, the things about care
Okay. That
and
last part?
yeah, there was like three things, I think.
Okay.
Um,
I will post it in the chat right now. And I will also make sure, Astrid, I don't know what happened, um, but the blog, there's a link to it that goes out in my email. So um, I'll
okay,
make
yeah.
sure, I'll just email you personally to make sure you have that link. But
Okay.
actually, I can probably just do that right now if I'm organized. Okay, so I'm just going to put that link to the blog in there right now. You can save that. So, Astrid, the blog,
Yeah.
um, because it's for people who are interacting, are actively engaged with this offering, um, I don't, it's part of my website, but it's not part of the visible navigation. So we don't share that link with people outside of this gathering.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Sure.
Is there anything else you wanted to share?
Um, yeah, just kind of realizing that, yeah, I don't really have a grasp of what's really sustainable for me, really, like in the context of my disability. Because yeah, I'm in so many kind of normative systems that don't like accommodate, yeah, don't accommodate me, my abilities. That, yeah, I'm always kind of pushing myself into tiny spaces and kind of not being able to breathe. That's kind of the metaphor that just came to me. Um, so yeah, and then having to fight for what I need. Um, so yeah, it's kind of I think I've taken myself out of those systems, but and also that's not sustainable.
Yeah,
So yeah, so it's a bit of a rock and a hard place, I think. Feels like. Mm,
thank you so much for sharing that. Because Astrid, I think that many of us, feel that way. Sometimes it's just a fleeting moment, other times it's persistent. It's like, wait,
mm,
how is this supposed to be sustainable for me?
mm.
Um, and I want to be really, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to express this adequately, but I want to be very careful to say that I don't believe that, for instance, Buddhism or really any spiritual tradition gives us a roadmap on how to change systems as systems, at least not in the way that we conceive of them in the modern Western world.
Yes. And I was
It,
gonna say I need a map. And you just kind of answered that sort of,
what, what,
yeah.
what Buddhism and other spiritual traditions do is give us more of a map to how to be with ourselves in the midst of that. And specifically, Buddhism calls in that when I nourish and cultivate myself, and I'll be talking about Thich Nhat Hanh and interbeing in a minute. When I nourish myself, I am nourishing part of the system. I interbeing includes me. whether or not the system attempts to marginalize me. And this is very conceptual and doesn't work for people that want to carry picket signs or, try to form a barrier line against the ICE or the police. But what it does is it helps our internal fuel, our internal engine. It helps to clarify us so that we know, am I the person that needs to be in the picket line? Or am I the person who needs to be in some other place where what I can express and or what the actions I can complete actually fit with my capacities and my inclinations? This is something that we're really bad at in this culture, is trying to look at this distinction. So I want to maybe go back to this sort of review that I'm doing of principles that we've looked at in prior months, because in the third month we looked at anti-capitalist politic. And I quoted Kim Nielsen from A Disability History of the United States. And in her sharing on indigenous cultures that existed prior to the arrival of Europeans on the continent of what we now call North America, there was a concept of balance as opposed to this a concept of accumulation that we have under capitalism. There was a concept of balance, and that balance required that the entire entity be recognized and embraced. So there was no concept, for instance, of disability, because the individual was whole with whatever their capacities or the configuration of their body or the configuration of their mind was. The only question was for each individual was how to be in balance with the natural world and the community of peoples, because the natural world and the community of peoples were one in indigenous tradition. And in indigenous tradition, there was the seventh generation principle, which wouldn't it be lovely if we had something like that in our political system? Because basically, it said, we need to think 7 generations into the future about the impact of the decisions that we're making today. And that greatly, having to even take that sort of contemplation into consideration, really slowed the pace, because it had to be interrogated in terms of impact in ways that the way politics carries forward in the US, at least, never even touch upon.
Yes.
And to say it in Buddhist terms, samadhi, right view, was in front. It's like, well, we have to establish right view, and we have a framework for right view. It's how does this impact up to 7 generations going forward? So there was a concept of sustainability built in. We're not living in a culture like that. Buddhist principles, spiritual principles, they're not going to change the system, but we can sustain ourselves better. And we can infect each other to become healthy parts of the system. And we can hope that everybody we infect will also infect others, so that we can hope that this type of infection, which is a positive infection, spreads. And that really reflects on the principle that we looked at next, which was commitment to cross-movement organizing. And when we looked at that principle, we spent a lot of time on context, like, wait, this happened, but what happened before that? And what happened around that? So again, we spent a lot of time in what I would call sort of like retroactive samadhi. Like, well, let's look back and see, why did that happen? Who helped that to happen? What changed so that it could happen? And I also quoted Kimberly Crenshaw that month saying, what she said is, intersectional failure is a consequence of a political vision that is meant to be transformative, but fails to fully interrogate many of the baselines upon which it is activated. And in that failure, it makes itself vulnerable to political conditions that actually rob the movement of the ability to do what it even wants to do. So in shorthand, we can see a lot of how that's playing out in the US today. We have right now a political movement upon us that is really trying to bulldoze through a lot of changes. And it's doing that by pulling in all the disparate pieces that it can find little catchphrases to activate and try to get their support, but it's not necessarily interrogating. Well, wait, what is that community really about? Where is their baseline? How much will they support? And it's a scary time right now. It's a scary time right now. I'm not denying that. But this is a movement based on chaos, which for me means that I have to make sure I'm not in chaos. Whatever I do in relationship to that needs to be in clarity. It needs to be in right view. How can I infect people that have drunk the chaos with clarity if I'm not already fully established? They have to be able to see that in me. They have to be able to receive it from me. Now, I'm not saying that means everybody's going to want to listen to the clear things I have to say, but if I can't say them, that's definitely not going to happen, right? So it's about being established in our clarity. And the commitment to cross-movement organizing calls us to understand, really interrogate the baselines of all these different movements and to understand what fits together and how, so that we can call in with a clear voice of understanding the relationships, the movements that are most going to support us. And finally, I want to call in some sharing from last month on recognizing wholeness. When Malidoma Patrice Sommeil said the greatest shock that American culture has on traditional people is the notion of speed. And he further said that the indigenous world looks, while the industrial world overlooks. There's no time to interrogate the baselines. we're not looking. And in the blog that month, I suggested that the sort of traditional indigenous perspectives that used ritual as a way to call us into clarity, into the moment that is, into that relationship of balance, that has been replaced by worship of essentially of sociopathy, the accumulation of most by a few, leading to culturally a prevalent sense of loneliness, disembodiment, and dissatisfaction. We as disabled people, in my perspective, because we are so easily subject to this isolation, subject to being cast aside and to experience loneliness, we may in fact be best able to teach and guide by example on the imperative of interconnectedness, of, for instance, the seventh generation principle. For instance, the use of whatever the modern ritual might be to bring us into balance with the true nature of what we are in this moment, no matter what this moment looks like. I mentioned that I wanted to call in Thich Nhat Hanh. I've been sort of reading and rereading The Art of Living this month. And in that book, he says, he echoes Malidoma Patrice Somé. He says, in today's society, we are so busy, we don't even have time to take care of ourselves. And he said this, the book was published in 2017. It's gotten worse. We're not at ease with ourselves. We find it difficult to take care of our bodies, feelings, and emotions. We're afraid of being overwhelmed by our suffering. And so we run away from ourselves. This is one of the defining characteristics of our civilization. So when he says run away from ourselves, I think, oh yeah, all the social media, all the streaming, all the gaming, all these distractions that people use so they don't have to feel what they're really feeling. It's getting baked into our culture, but we don't have to drink the water. We don't have to be in that place. So it was for that reason that I'm going to read to you from the blog post from that month on it's my call to abandon rituals of disconnection. So what I'm saying is, it's not that we don't have rituals. I mean, Malidoma Patrice Somé saw what was going on in the West as a lack of ritual because it didn't meet what he was familiar with. But we do have ritual. We have ritual of disconnection. So in the blog post, I said, an absence of connection with traditional ritual does not bar modern peoples from recreating and reconnecting with ourselves, each other, and the natural world. We can create our own healing rites, perhaps starting to observe the speed at which we conduct ourselves in all things. Whatever we do repeatedly, consistently, becomes ritual, becomes our ritual. And in this sense, we can't escape ritual. We can understand ourselves as performing rituals of disconnection by speeding through life in order to meet externally focused values, disconnecting from our natural embodied sense of wholeness by tuning out, binging, dissociated in the many ways contemporary culture offers. Accepting offers of disconnection is a practice of unawareness as relief from the pain of disconnection inherent in modern colonized culture. To move away from all of this towards connectedness, we don't have to be perfect. We don't even have to be wise. We can begin by simply being aware of how we practice disconnection. That awareness itself is a reconnection. When we notice ourselves practicing disconnection, we can even just affirm, I notice I'm practicing disconnection right now. We can further affirmatively notice our feelings and motivations, as in, I'm experiencing boredom or overwhelm or whatever the emotion is. Perhaps with everything that's going on in the world today, you may notice that your chosen disconnection practice feels like the only thing that you know how to do or can do at any given moment. And none of that is wrong. It's not wrong to feel that way. It simply is what is. Noticing, even just noticing, I don't feel like I can do anything else but stream right now. I don't think I can do anything else but play this game right now. Noticing that restores your power because now it's a choice. Okay, at least there's something I can choose so I can calm down a little bit. I wonder if there's something else. I wonder if there's other things that might help me. You restore your power. With this kind of noticing, we can begin to insert rituals of connection, of embodied awareness into our lives. And any embodied practice at all will do. It could be an embodied meditation practice like yoga nidra, but it could be singing, it could be gardening, it could be yoga or tai chi, it could be cuddling a pet, it could be watering your plants. Anything that's embodied can be a ritual that restores connection. So as we engage in rituals of embodied awareness, we can then celebrate our intention to connect deeply with ourselves, with the gifts that will naturally come from that practice, but also to affirm and accept that there will be grief that arises. That's why we're tuning out all the time. We don't want to feel how sad and angry we are. So when we get in our bodies, when we say, I love that plant and I'm going to water it, and we really focus just on that and on the physical act of filling the watering can and pouring the water in, we might feel some grief. And we're going to go, what the hell is wrong with me? Why am I feeling sad right now? Because that's how we're programmed to think. But the point is, that's naturally what's going to happen. There's nothing wrong. That is what happens. When we refuse, we've been programmed to refuse to allow our grief, our sadness, our anger to carry forward in healthy ways. It's going to rise up. And so when it comes, we need to say, yep, that's you. You are mine and I deserve you. You are my grief. I get that grief. And if it means you have to cry and snot all over your plant, cry and snot all over your plant. Because that's what you deserve to do. So there was a Rumi poem that I quoted that essentially what he's saying is be aware of what we are washing ourselves in and what we are washing ourselves of, right? When we engage in the rituals of disconnection, we are washing ourselves in disconnection. But when we pick an embodied awareness practice, we are washing ourselves into embodied connection. None of this is going to be easy. None of this it's not going to be fun all the time. It's going to be ugly sometimes. That's why we have to have community. So I want to share something else from uh, the Thich Nhat Hanh's The Art of Living. In one chapter, he talks about how in sort of Buddhist cosmology, we have multiple bodies, at least 8 of them. And I feel like what I'm trying to talk about today are specifically 2 of those bodies. One of them, the spiritual practice body. The more we pick our embodied practice and we return to it, what if it's 3 practices? We return to them. What if it's 1 practice? We return to it over and over again. We build our spiritual practice body. It becomes strong in us. And just as I was saying, we want to be able to be clear and communicate with clarity. Thich Nhat Hanh had one heck of a spiritual practice body, and he communicated it across continents, across languages, across cultures, not just through his books, but just by his presence. And I'm not saying we're all going to be Thich Nhat Hanh, but we deserve to feed and nourish our spiritual practice body. And no matter how strong it does become, it will serve us in those moments when we are in challenge. And another body that he talks about that is really central to Sangha is the community body. It's knowing and understanding the principle that he calls interbeing, which is that no matter what I am, even when I feel like I'm over here by myself, I am with this plant. I am with this chair that's supporting me. I am with this oxygen that I'm breathing. I am with these people that are here with me on Zoom that I'm communicating with and I'm sharing with. We have to value our community. We have to grow, nourish, and sustain our community. The more that we nourish our spiritual practice body and we build community, our spiritual practice community, the more we become that infection that I was talking about, the infection that helps to bring clarity to those who've been consuming chaos and haven't found an alternative. So we're almost at time. I want to share a final quote from Thich Nhat Hanh from the same book. He says, "My name, Nhat Hanh, means one action." I spent a long time trying to figure out which action this was. Then I discovered that my action is to be peace, to bring peace to others. We have a tendency to think in terms of doing and not in terms of being. We think that when we're not doing anything, we're wasting our time. But that's not true. Our time is for all of us to be. To be what? To be alive, to be peaceful, to be joyful, to be loving. And this is what the world needs most. We all need to train ourselves in our way of being And that is the ground for all action. Our quality of being determines our doing. So I want to maybe offer, because I know people may need to leave, I want to offer a dedication of merit, so that people can leave, and then I'll continue to offer a community sharing after that for anyone who wants to stay. Two things supporting our dedication of merit. Thich Nhat Hanh wrote a poem early in his life in which he said the words, the work of rebuilding may take thousands of lifetimes, but this work was already completed thousands of lifetimes ago. So the timelessness. And also an African proverb supporting community. If you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together. And so in the spirit of those words, I offer a dedication of the merit of this practice to our spiritual bodies, to our community body, to the practices that will sustain us in our being of such great value, so that we can really accept, appreciate, love, and enjoy our beingness. And let that be the ground of any action. And from this place, aspiring for all beings in every place and in every time, that be whole, be healed, be whole, and be free at the earliest moment possible, with an aspiration that all of this be so. So thank you so much, everyone, for taking time to be with me again today. I so appreciate having the opportunity to be in spiritual practice with you, to be in community practice with you. And I'm going to stop the recording.